it's mad. When everywhere in the world have problem, everywhere need God. Tell them easy no man. From you love think it's bad. Full time if we big up.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. You're in tune to Win FM 98.9. That's on your radio dial. It's Friday morning. Yes, I was late again. It usually happens sometimes. You get so busy and you tend to... Time flies, I must say. That's what I'm going to say, is that time is flying. Do you realize that we are halfway through 2022? Well, it's one of the years that I can't wait to finish. 2022 has... First, it was a good year for me. It started off really, really well. And then you start having all of these ups and downs and all over the place. You had war in Ukraine. You have fuel crisis, price of food going up. You can't get anything out of coming through China Sea. Everything has gone topsy-turvy. The world has been doing that lately, and so are we here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Good morning to you once more. My name is Sandra Quilly-Atherton, and it is time for Your Views. Your Views is a program that is aired on Win FM every Friday morning at 10 o'clock. Do not set your clock on me because it's already 9 minutes past 10 o'clock in the studios of Win FM. It's a program that you can sometimes call in and share your views. Now we're in the silly season, so we're having discussions. We're talking about what's happening around us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're trying to make sure that we, the electorate, maintain our positions as employers. And we have to make sure that we keep those people who are applying for the job, make sure that they're properly qualified and that they fit the bill. I'm going to tell you, one of the things that I'm hearing and consistently hearing, it's about money, money, money. It's not about us. It's about them. And we have to remember that. We are seeing it. I know they're going to change the rhetoric now and the narrative is going to change because I would have said that. I realize that is what is happening. And if that is what we have to do. But don't be fooled because people can say what they want. But sometimes you can talk the talk, but it's so difficult to walk the walk. This morning I have with me a young man. He's going to be with me for a while. Why? Because I like him. I like his views. I like the fact that he's very outspoken. I like the fact that he works very hard. I like the fact that he loves people and he tried his best in his own humble way to make sure that people, the ordinary man, is satisfied. I like the fact that he is an ordinary man. He's a young man. He's a kittitian. And he's a successful businessman, and he works very hard. He's not loathsome, he's not idle, and that is one of the reasons why I like talking to him. It's not that him and I were big friends. I didn't know him. Like I said, I saw him posting on social media. I like the things that he was saying. I saw him at work. I spent some time with him. I see people have confidence in him. His phone rings off the hook nonstop. Politicians that find favor in him. What I like about him is that he has morals, principles, whatever you want to say. Do not listen to what people have to say. Do not believe. That is the biggest mistake, and I find that we do a lot of that, is that we believe, we don't know. Do not believe what you're hearing. 99.9% of the time, what you're hearing is propaganda. It is baseless, and there's no truth in it. And so what I would want people to do, when you get to interact with people and you understand who you are, then who they are, then you can make statement. Otherwise than that, I find, do not come and tell me somebody say. I want to know, how was your experience? Because sometimes I can experience somebody differently than you would experience that person. And then I would say the person is not a nice person, not recognizing that is what I would have done would have contributed to that kind of behavior. So we have to look at how we are contributing to people's attitude towards you. We are all not perfect. We like to blame. I see that all the time. When it's time for praise, it's us. When it's time that people are going to look at it, not in a negative way, but a critical way, it is somebody else. And we play the blame game all the time. And the bad thing about it, though, is that it's normal for humans to do that. But the bad thing about it is that we are gullible. And we fall and we believe those kind of things and always sympathize to not the victim, but the culprit, the one who's causing most of the problems. They're the ones to sympathize with because they talk hard, they talk long, and they talk rubbish. But at the end of the day, if you can't fool one with with intelligence, I think they use the baffling way. It's trying to baffle us poor people with nonsense. Good morning, Weeks. Not that I'm in a talking mood, but I talk a lot. How are you? Welcome to Your Views.
Hey, good morning, Sanjo. Good morning, listening audience. I'm good. Glad to be here again.
Yeah.
It's that time again. I can't even say that time of the year, but that time again, we have to band together for, lots of different reasons and purposes. Some may not align, but at the end of the day, we all need to make sure we achieve the common goal. So it's good to be here. It's good to have me. And, let us entertain.
Okay, and the common goal is the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
People.
I want people to know, right? And politics doesn't feed me. It doesn't. Politicians don't. They can't afford. I work hard. I am a young woman. I was a young woman, still is a young woman, who work hard to position myself. And that is one of the things that I want people to know. Before unity, I was doing well for myself. As a matter of fact, I used to help people who are aspiring to be politicians. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the good things about it is that I don't look to them for anything. There are a lot of speculations and people are saying, and that's why I tell people, there are lots of propaganda on social media. You understand? And then a lot of people who are doing it, they're hiding behind fake profiles. And that is one of the biggest problems that I have. But that is social media. I think that is one of the reasons why Mark Zuckerberg wanted that. He wants to be like God. He was looking for entertainment. And he created a platform for humans to entertain him. God was to worship, but he's to entertain. And I suppose that's what it is. And we have fallen prey, or whatever we want to say, we fall into that. Let's look at the situation that we have right now and see how we can get the electorate to start looking in the right directions. We have 3 political parties right now.
First time in history?
In history, in a small country. Yeah. Between St. Kitts and Nevis, about 64,000 people. Yes. It is, about that. We have 3 political parties. We, as the electorate, we have to understand what they are offering. When you listen to most of the meetings, political meetings, or the town hall meetings, and I'm going to say this, they lack substance. There's no information coming out. I mean, you sit down and you wait and you try to understand. And I'm sick and tired. We don't want Timothy. We don't want Timothy to be in our household to feed us, to be one of our whatever the investments, because it's all they're telling you is about Timothy. How is Timothy going to help us? Because they don't want him to be in there, but yet still, all they talk about is Timothy. We have to start to look outside of that. We have to start to think and understand. Let us look and see what Timothy, I'm going to say this now, because when you look and see what would have happened based on the rhetoric, the information coming out from the sides, the defectors or those who were fired, you hear that they're saying that they were not aware of what was happening in there. Some of the programs they were not aware of. Okay, so let's talk about the programs. Let's look at PAP, the program that was introduced, and that was to help alleviate some of the hardships that we have in our households. You have people who are living in a household of 4 and 5, and they make the money that they're bringing in is $1,500 a month. And I can tell you about hardships. And their rent is basically $600-700 a month. They have children within that household who are going to school, and they were living off of $1,500 a month. And for me, that is poverty. When you look and you compare the standard of living in St. Kitts and Nevis, that is not borderline poverty, that is poverty. When you are paying half of your salary in house rent, you have not factored in electricity, water, food, school fees, school books, and all that for the children. And you ask yourself the question, how did these people manage? And you know what upsets me most though? At the end of the day, when it's time to disconnect people's electricity, These are the people who suffer the consequences. Nobody calculate how these people are living. Nobody look to see how they could alleviate some of the hardships. What they do is recognize that the company or the ministry that they're working with needs money, and the only way that money can come from is from poor people. You know, it upsets me when you have an understanding, and it's there, it's public knowledge, where you have these big businesses owing millions of dollars, and small people who have a household who are already strapped for cash. These are the people who suffer the consequences. These are the people who they make pay. You understand? Demand them to pay. And it is sad, Weeks. It is a very, very sad situation. And then at the end of the day, these are the same people, we're coming back to the same people who you have pushed all this hardship on and asked them to vote for you. It's not right.
Yes, something needs to be done. But me in mind, I can't speak too much about Skillet because
I know I'm not talking about. It was not electricity. Sorry, and I that is a pity that I would have said that. We're talking about utilities. We're talking about in general. We're talking about in general. We're not talking about Skillet, and I would never do that.
Right.
And I'm not going to point any finger on any.
Right,
but I use electricity as one of the utilities that we use. I mean, it's a similar situation. I mean, people say, "Oh, if you can't afford cable, then don't buy it." But then you have children that needs to be entertained.
But the good thing about cable is that if you can't afford the package, you go down to a lower package.
One, right?
So you go to your pocket.
Yeah, and
so that's a good thing.
It comes
but when it comes to energy, you can't do that with energy because the fridge had to operate, the washing machine had to operate, and other appliances had to operate. So you don't have no option, do you? But
now you see, then again, it looks back. You take you back to a situation. That is where the poverty alleviation program that came in and is doing dividends.
Now listen, I have persons who come to me and say straight up, and I'm talking about seniors with amputees, and tell me that is what they use to pay down their electricity bill because they're senior citizens. They had things rough, things slow. The pension is only that much, and then this program came along. Then it helped them. Well, we carry a electricity bill, but they had climbing into the thousands. Now some people saying that, hey, I down to zero, and I could relax and breathe good. So some people actually using these programs put on by the government for beneficial purposes because they just have no other choice.
But you see, people who can afford never understand how much difference $10 make, and I can tell you that. I remember it's gonna make me cry. I can cry very easily because when you listen, when you look, when you get in there, and that's why I said, do not stay on the outside and talk. Yeah. You have to understand what it is to be poor. You have to understand, and it's not me, it could afford. I'm not going to say poor. What it is how difficult it is when you cannot afford.
Yes.
Because you live in a society, you live in a world where there's certain things you have to do.
Yes.
But you cannot afford to do it. And that is the starting. And I'm not talking about people who wants to wear the best clothes or go to the more parties and pay $100. I'm talking about people who genuinely have a problem trying to make ends meet and do not know how they're going to get it done.
Yes.
People talk, and we cry down about all the immorality when people prostitute themselves. Not that's something that you're encouraging, but if you can walk a mile, just a day, in some of these people's shoes, you would understand. So when you get a program that is going to pay you $500, to some people $500 is nothing, but to others $500 is a life-saving payment because it helps you to do other things. And a lady, just like you said, a lady told me that it was tough. Every month she had to juggle. This month she has to decide whether or not she's going to pay water. Next month she's going to have to pay electricity. And that is how electricity bill runs up. Because people don't understand. People think, well, how they could allow their bills to run up like that? It's not that they want it to run up, but you just cannot afford to pay down on it.
Not only that, you still got to factor in, unforeseen and things that might happen. You might get sick.
Yes.
I mean, some kind of other expense might come along. I mean, you might have to help a family with an emergency. And these kind of things happen. And these kind of things, sometimes when you do one good deed, it sets you back, 10 months.
People don't know that.
People don't know that.
Yeah.
But it does.
Yeah. And people, this morning I'm coming down and I'm saying, people look at you and think that you have money and they don't know how you have to juggle to make sure that you can maintain the standard of living that you want to, the lifestyle that you want to live. People don't know how difficult it is to juggle it. And they go around with all sorts of propaganda, saying all sorts of things, and people would listen.
Yes.
You understand? So I was talking about this lady who told me, and she came on, she said, Mrs. Addison, it's sad, it's really sad when some people are going to deprive me of this $500. There's some people who, because they don't have any need for it, they're going to deprive me from getting this $500. But she said, if you know how far this $500 would have brought me, you understand? She said, if you know how far this have brought me, and every day I give thanks and praise to the government.
And we got to be realistic, because that's some person's intention. Some persons feel like, hey, no, government ain't obligated to give you $500.
But they say it.
And, they feel like, that's a program that is a waste of resources. We could do something else with that money. I mean, why we always had to do something else to cater to someone else instead of the people?
Because when we look and see who makes up the government,
yes,
you understand that the $500 to them is a round of drinks in the bar.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
They do not understand that $500 is life support for some families. And when you pull that plug, that's it.
Yes.
So these are the problems when we put people in offices who do not understand poverty, because then the programs are not going to come to basically help poor people. They look at ways and means of basically helping themselves, and poor people, we are left to suffer. Then you have the STEP program. People say, oh, so people only want to go on STEP. STEP is a stepping stone.
Stepping stone, going in the right direction.
It gets you into there are people who are qualified that are on STEPs. And they would have used that program to get them into an office that would take them on permanently, who would recognize that they are qualified and would use them permanently. And you listen to people who bash this program.
And not only take them into an office, but you have persons who work in a private institution, and they are paid differently. I mean, you might be getting minimum, but that imply kind of like your work attitude, your ability, and how hands-on you are. And they might say at the end of the week, hey, this is an extra $150, and that's what they should be trying to promote. That's what more persons and more businesses need to do, because at the end of the day, we can't be mechanized about minimum wage, but then when you're getting help from government in terms of a step worker, you then not trying to pay it forward by giving the worker a little extra. I mean, it goes a long way.
You see, and people are not looking at that. There are lots of employees out there who have step workers, and they're paid. I had a discussion with a young lady, and I was very upset, because at the end of the day, step pays them.
Yes.
And the place where they are working, all of the monies that they have, they do not have to pay the employees.
Right.
And I asked whether or not they get even a tip. She said no, not even a tip.
Yeah.
Not even an extra dollar, which is sad, because here you are having two workers that you are benefiting from. You don't have to pay anything. And within your heart, there's no conscience for you to say, at least let me give them $100 each at the end of the week. You would have had to pay them a full salary.
Full salary. No, you don't have to.
No, you don't have to.
Yeah.
And you can't say, let me help by giving them $100 each week and cut this minimum wage nonsense.
Because and that's a start. I mean,
Exactly.
that's a start. Imagine it's almost like a buying. The government here paying a portion of the salary and basically telling you, well, hey, give the person a top up. And that top up would help if you have 550 persons at private institutions on step. Imagine the 550 persons getting above minimum. And that's a top up. That's how you drive, economic growth. That's how you give people more money in their pocket to spend. That's how people would be able to come out of the hardships what they're into and have a little extra to, help pay the bill, help pay the utility, help buy the proper food, help buy the even proper medicine that they need. Because we know people just be going without.
And this is one of the reasons why I like programs like this, because the people who are getting the money, and because you're getting the money, you don't even realize how well you're doing until you don't have that money.
Yeah.
And why I'm saying this is we are going to, we're getting ready for an election. And I'm saying that,
Unfortunately.
yeah, it's the unfortunate situation. And up to now, I can't seem to understand why we're
nobody
here.
could tell us why.
I can't seem to understand why we're
Yeah.
here. We thought we did the right thing, given, still electing a government that would help us. But in the end, we recognize...
Not only electing a government that will help us, but we also, give them more power, more seats.
Exactly. And so we thought that in the end that we were going to benefit, but look at what happened. Because they're not benefiting, they decide to pull the plug. So you ask the question, so why are we putting you in there? To look after yourself to look after the people?
Right.
Because the complaint that we're hearing is all along. Not enough money, no fair share, it's just trust. Trust who?
Yeah.
You have issues trusting people who you're working with, and we have issues trusting you.
Exactly. It's a trust issue.
It's a trust issue all over. And so then,
around.
yeah, you can't trust one, so we can't trust you.
Yes.
And then you're gonna come back to us and ask us to put you back in there again. No.
When you was the one who walk out the door and close the door.
Yeah, and then because you were not benefiting, so now you come out and say, okay, now I would have benefited, so let me help you now.
Yes.
How can you go on the platform? What are you going to say on the platform? You had the chance. You were in there. You had the chance to do better.
Well, you realize something that we have seen, heard maybe just under 10 meetings from both Labour and PAM, and we're still waiting for a message. 10 times they keep a town hall.
But there's no message.
A meeting, and you're still waiting for a message.
Well, you have
you're
the
still waiting for them to appeal to us.
No, there's a message. Keeping the promise.
Yes, that's all
what
you're
promise?
hearing.
But we don't know.
Yes.
We have never been promised anything,
Anything.
and so I don't know what promise that they're keeping. And then Labour is riding the red wave.
Yes.
and it's laughable because when I look at what politicians are doing and think that the electorate is stupid, it makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
And when I see people jump on a train and they themselves are shouting, at the end of the day they're begging, it sickens me to my stomach.
Yeah.
People look at you and say, oh, you're rich because you support such and such, then support who I'm supporting.
Then support who
it would make you
so
rich.
you could get rich too.
Exactly. And so these are the kind of problems. And I'm sad because Kitishans, we have boasted 98% literacy. But being able to read and being able to analyze and understand is two different stories.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
maybe we can read, because children can read at 4, but a lot of times they don't understand what they're reading. So not because we're boasting 98% literacy, mean that we understand what the situation is. But we would have given everybody a chance, with the exception of the new party that came up, PLP.
Yeah.
So we have seen Labour in action, we've seen PAM in action, we've seen CCM in action, we've seen NRP in action. And then when you get back to the table again, you hear them say the same thing. The promises that we took, they made years ago, that we got rid of them then because they didn't keep their promises. The rhetoric, the same rhetoric, the things that they're going to do, but they're not telling us how they're going to do it. And I'm going to bust some bubbles. You see the CBI program, that slush fund that everybody is after?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when they're done selling us out, that's one of the things. The passports have been sold to people who sooner or later it's going to pose some problem to us. That fund is posing some problems to America and the rest of the world because they feel like the Russian oligarchs are finding ways and means of coming to the Caribbean and they're buying their way here because the Caribbean, remember, we are primitive poor people and money goes a long way for us. So they feel like that program is posing some issue, so they're getting ready to pull all life support. Question you're asking. I am not hearing anybody talking about what new programs that you're going to bring after that.
What's next?
Everybody is gearing to fair share comes from CBI money. People are looking at CBI money to do this and CBI money to do that. What is happening to the money that we supposed to be generating?
I just see CBI as a safety net,
It is a safety net. It's a bonus.
So that when anything happens, you have some resource
to fall back
to tap into.
Exactly.
Because if you keep on feel like, hey, in order to pay your civil servants, you need the CBI. In order for you to build a new school, you need the CBI. In order for you to pave road, you need the CBI. What I mean,
how much more passports are we going to sell?
Exactly.
Because then, if that is the case, you will have more foreigners out there with passport than
actual
real
citizens. Yeah.
And this is one of the risks that we are running. But nobody wants to say you have a chance to, and we can see it. You run Nevis story. You have the federal monies that are coming in. When that cuts off, you're choking. You can't give a 10% because there's no money there. You can only give you a 5%. 15% is going to come this year 5, next year 5, and the following year you're going to get another 5%. Well, that for me is good. But the question is, where is that money going to come from? We say all the time what we need and what we are going to do. We want a new hospital. There's supposed to be the new Bastia High School, the new police, the prison. There's so many new things that we have to do. But we are not saying and we are not seeing. They're not telling us where the monies are going to come from to build this. And again, you have issues where the money is there and then you have all of these allegations going around where monies are going to places that they're not supposed to go.
I mean, when you look at it, especially when it comes to the Bastia High School, I mean, the money was allocated for
how
since
long?
2016 or
exactly.
some around there.
So what is the problem?
And well, I hear them saying some insurance, but sometimes they look in insurance. The former minister was looking insurance, but sometimes we just gotta be real with yourself. You look in insurance, but you look in insurance, but you can't get insurance because, well, hey, maybe not in it for you. So you don't want to use certain, companies or entities or them kind of things. And these are the things that we had to, be real with, and we still had to step away from.
But
do things the right way.
But you know what I see though, and I'm not, and this is not accusing anybody. The information is out there. I'm seeing some lads, and I can't. They substantiate. I can't say that because the information has come out where credit cards have been in excess amount of money, and these are the things that are out there. And I look and see what is happening in there, and I am happy. I'm happy to conclude that people are looking out for themselves. And if we are not going to see that, then something is seriously wrong with it. But you know what upsets me most, though, is that some people agree with it. There's some people who defend it.
Oh, really?
People who are defending it.
How could you?
But this used to do it, so what?
And this one have a bigger credit limit.
And this one have, but it's not right. It's not right.
Yeah. Anyway,
we send you in there to help us. You would have helped yourself. And then now that you would have helped yourself, you're promising that you're going to help us the next time around?
Next time around.
It's not right. And these are the things that we need to talk about.
Yes.
You understand? We have to make sure that the electorate is not fooled again. And how we can make sure you give the information. But the thing is, you can't analyze for them.
Yes.
Because you can give as much information as you want, and providing that people have this mental partisan block that you support a party and nothing the party can do can do wrong, that is a big problem. Me, I used to do that. I used to support party. My sister and I get in arguments. We fell out. And I was like, no, you can't be doing it. You got this, and you favor this, and you can't. And one day she had a discussion with me, and I was shocked because I was so blinded by the party I supported. I didn't want to look outside the box. I think it's a fear of knowing that I was wrong. It was a fear of knowing that I encouraged that, or I contributed to that because I voted for that. So when she started to tell me certain things, and I started to look outside of the box, I'm like, wow. I wasn't going to tell her because I never wanted to get anything over me. So I wasn't going to tell her. But I sat down within myself and I started to do my own analysis.
Well, for me, it started early, really and truly. I was a party person because, the house where you grow up in a family and, they support one way. But then going out and understanding that, hey, you got to fend for yourself. I used to have to sell Voice and Battle to buy school uniform.
Wow. That ain't nothing bad. I was cleaning a house. I was cleaning a house with 4 bedrooms. And he was getting $2.50.
No regrets at all. But then he helped me to understand that
money don't come easy.
Money don't come easy, and who you really think that's supposed to be there for you, don't be there for you. And that's how I started to look at politicians. Sometimes one will be there for you, and when you see one there for you, you give them your 100% support. And when you realize that the person ain't there for you, then you have to speak up and make the decision to just move away from them. And I did that. All throughout my life, where I vote for who I felt like well, not really vote for or felt like, but I just refused to support somebody who I felt like was lazy and wasn't producing.
You see, you had an understanding, but the opposite to that is for me, I was totally opposite to you. I grew up in a house that had, my mother supported this party and our family supported this party. And my brother, my big brother, who I laud and I look up to, I always listen to what he says, and then I would basically follow where he goes. And it was just that. But I had there's something about Pam's policies that I had never really took time out to understand or follow labor policies, because as you grow up, you hear certain things as a child. I'm Nevision, you have to remember that. And so Nevis people couldn't support labor because we grew up thinking about bone and rice and pepper and soup. We didn't know whether or not it was true, but as you were young, and I say this to people.
They tell you the story, you just, you go with it.
But when you look at the fact that we were like the dump for Sinkets, where whenever a fire truck is not working, we had a fire truck in the fire station, and I've never seen it run yet. Because it was just there. School buses, that's what I'm saying, we used to get the drags. School buses would cut out halfway, so you're there waiting for the school bus to come, and there's no bus, you have to walk.
Okay, but me want to ask you what different now, but let me ask you, you see anything different now? Because, hey, you guys build a whole police station over in
Nevis is...
and it can't function the way it's supposed to function. So, so tell me.
Well, we have to say we're accustomed to use little. I'll tell you about Nevisions, and people don't know this. You take me out to Nevis, you can't take the Nevis out to me. We grew up that way. We are independent people. We don't know. Politics wasn't a thing. I never even understood that there was. I didn't even know we had a political party in Nevis. I didn't even know they used to have elections and stuff. You don't know, because that is not the thing. You're not something that you
don't pay attention.
It doesn't happen here there.
Yeah.
Somebody is leading. Life is the same way. It doesn't matter who's in power. Nobody gonna give you anything. You had to get whatever you want, however you want. So politics wasn't a thing for us. When I came to Sinkits, I realized how nasty politics is, and people cussing one another. I didn't even know what my neighbors, who they voted for, or whether or not they voted. I didn't even know these things because we never understood politics. What our problem was in Nevis was that Sinkits used to treat us bad because we couldn't get anything out of Sinkits. Absolutely. And you hear people talk about it, not that you have an understanding of it, but you heard people talk about it where we couldn't depend on it. We were Sister Island. We had Sinkits, Nevis, and Anguilla, the great trinity of Ireland. We used to sing the national anthem, not even having an understanding of what the national anthem meant. But we knew that we were tri-island state, and we know that we were tri-state, and we know that we were supposed to share or get whatever. So we know Sinkits used to would send, but they would send the things that they don't want. When they have good things, they send the old things to us. And I can tell you that for a fact. So as a Nevision, and Labour was in power then, we just didn't like Labour.
Okay.
Because we knew how we were treated by Labour. And then, of course, you grew up hearing about bone in your rice and pepper in your soup. And that, again, became an issue. So when we came to Sinkits, we definitely didn't want to hear anything about Labour, which was sad because we never took time out to understand who Labour was, what the policies were, and understand the politics. Because, like I said, politics wasn't a thing that was played out in England. So when we go into town and we hear brush, and we walk with a brush, and we following the crowd, not having an understanding of what we are doing. We just know that they say you walk with a coffin and you've carried a coffin as a child. And these things leave lasting impressions in your mind. And so you grow up with a mindset of hatred. Because you have been deprived and you feel like the people who are in power have been deprived and you've been looked down on. And for me, politicians were gods. They felt that we were their servants, and slavery for me was an issue, but it was not abolished because we were treated the same way by our own people this time.
Right.
And so that is how I used to look at politics. And so that is one of the reasons why I started to support. I saw my mother doing it, and then I felt like people who supported the Labour Party, they were just so aggressive, because one day my mother came home and she was bleeding in the back of her head. Somebody gave her a conch shell to head because she said, for a better life, vote for Dr. Kennedy Simmons. And like I said, we came from an environment that we never understood this kind of politics. So it was frightening for us, and it left that kind of impression. So when you hear people backing a party or defending a party, you don't know why they would have done that. And so that's why I'm telling people, no, you have to come out yourself. I don't tell my children which party to back. They grew up in an era, they don't understand, they don't know Labour because they were not raised on, they didn't have to experience Labour. They understand unity. My daughter was 11 years old when unity, 12, going on 12, when Unity went into
Came on
power.
board,
So
yeah.
she only understands Unity. She doesn't know anything about labor. My son have a better
Yes,
understanding
yeah.
of labor and the
And
Unity
Unity, yeah.
construct. So he can make an informed decision
Decision,
because he would have, again, he can't even make that decision because he was sheltered by me.
Okay.
The hardships that he would have had to experience, he didn't have to experience because then I was the one who supported him.
Okay.
And so children or young people, when you see that they're voting and they're going out to vote, it's because they're influenced by their parents. This is
Yes.
something you have to break.
Well,
we
well,
want.
well, to me, I feel like a breaking. You know?
Yes, I
Yeah.
listened to a young man.
Yes.
I was so impressed
Yes.
by this young
Trust
man
me.
on social media when he said, "Oh, you." Let me compose myself. He said he was talking to the honorable, his representative for constituency number 5, and he said, "Listen, this is not when you came to us. We used to have guns and fights, and we're not doing this. We're looking for
Right.
money. We're looking for progress. We are looking for
Starting
opportunities."
businesses.
I was so,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he was a young man.
Yes, and it's about
I
time
was
people
so-
start to
I was-
think like that.
I was so impressed.
Yeah.
Weeks, and I'm like, look at where look at how we will evolve. Look at where politics has reached, where young people
Yeah.
can think for themselves, and it's not because my parents say so. It's because I would have understood the benefits that I would have received and the hardships that I would have received under your hand, and I'm not going to support you anymore.
Yeah. And let me tell you something. The young people, they're paying attention, eh?
They are.
And they're paying attention to, hey, how you plan to elevate my life, how you plan to get me from this point to where I want to reach. I mean, sometimes you might say, for the country, and the country is a hospital, the country might be a brand new school, the country might be a hotel. But young people, we understand that. We understand that much. We understand that is necessary. But we still want to know what you're putting in place so I could benefit, what you're putting in place so I could reach to the level that I want to reach. And I understand and I know that, our Prime Minister, our present Prime Minister right now, he understands that. He sees that, and you could tell by the policies, you could tell by the Fresh Start program for small businesses, you could tell by the fact that he telling you after you leave school, you ain't got to really think about going to work slave for somebody from 8 to 4. You could have an idea and bring it to life. I mean, look at the ministries that coming on board, Ministry of Entrepreneurship coming on board so that, you could help persons to develop their craft, entertainment, so you could carry persons to another level. I mean, these kind of things is important things. I mean, we here and we spend thousands of dollars on overseas artists coming here to entertain us. I mean, we understand that it's a different in ratio when you dance here and you dance abroad. But we want when our artists go abroad, they get the same level of treatment where they could make the big bucks too, and then they could come back home and build a big house. I mean, some persons in this craft for 10, 15 years and they're still waiting to break the ceiling. So I think that, that ministry should be an opportunity, a gateway for persons to reach to that level.
You know what? I'm so happy that we can discuss this topic
Yeah.
in layman's term.
Yeah.
You said that, and you know what? I heard a young artist would have said, "You are here in St. Kitts. You have a music festival. You're bringing in these top artists. You're paying them
Yeah.
big monies, and when the local artists go to sing, small money.
Small money, you ain't want to.
What is that
You
saying?
ain't even trying to say, well, hey, you know what? If you fee normally 2,500, I mean, you ain't even want to say, hey, you know what? Let we double it.
Yeah, because you're on the big stage now.
You're on a big stage
You're
now.
working with big.
And not only that, the gate fee is different.
Yes.
Where you go and you entertain for a gate fee what is $30. Entertaining for a gate fee what is $135. So your fee should be different.
Definitely.
Because the gate fee is different.
Definitely.
I mean, and that's something that we need to start
And
to
this
look at.
it exposes them
Yes.
to a way of knowing that there's
Yes.
money in this,
Money in
in the
this.
craft. And so I have to develop my craft.
Develop
you
the
learn
craft.
from so just those who are bringing something there's nothing to learn
Nothing
from
to
because
learn
they
from.
don't give you anything.
They don't
They
give you
find that
anything.
it's a St. Kitts Music Festival, you're a
Yeah.
third class citizen.
They feel like we ain't know nothing about
yeah,
the music. We
And
ain't about entertainment, and they just give something.
you know, what amazes me sometimes when you listen to people who would have gone to shows and say, boy, when they talk about the local guys, you know, Dejo was good, Mr. B was good, Infamous was up there with the rest. You listen to them and you wonder, if they're so good and people really enjoy the show, why they were paid such a stipend? That was not a salary. That wasn't for their
Right.
what they value.
And
but
And you got to understand the reach what these people does have on a local level. Look at when they put on shows here and how these local artists has got the events and the venues rampant.
It's true.
Well, you want better than that. I mean, that's just to show you that, they could market themselves. They want something.
And I'm glad about the ministries that they put in place, so that can be not really. It's a guidance for these for them to understand that they are in an industry that pays big money, and they know people who can showcase. You come up with programs that would help them, and so they will start looking at themselves, not just as local artists, but people who can transcend onto the bigger stage. And that is one of the things. I like the fact that you would have said that the government has recognized that we have lots of young people, and the peace program would not have had to happen if we would have had ministries like this. We would not have had the problem with crime. Because these people, when you look at these people who are on the peace program, it's not all of those who have issues, but when you look at these people who commit petty crimes, these people are so knowledgeable. They are talented, but they have nothing to do. They were not recognized. They were set aside, and that is one of the reasons why they got caught up. Let's talk about the peace program. I spoke to a young man, because I like to talk to people. I tell people, when I go out, I don't don't talk politics. I try to see how people feel
and how they're thinking,
and you see where the politicians are really deficient, because if you can see it, you ask yourself the question, how come they can't see it?
Or maybe they seen it, but it's just that ain't really aligned with what they really,
they're not here to help people. They're not here to help people.
Ain't aligned with what their intentions are.
And he said to me, Miss Atherton, I was on a peace program, and you know what? It showed me, because and he praised Len Harris. I hope he doesn't get upset with me, but he praised him. He said, I went to the man and I told him, I had skills and I wanted some help. And he said to me that, he can offer a loan, and the government have loans for them with low interest rates. And so he said, I can offer you a loan. And he said to me, you know what I like about the man? I don't know this man. I've never met this man before. But he looked at me like I was some big businessman with a briefcase. Not that I came. He said he felt that way. And so he knew that he had to work. He knew he had to work, because when he met this man, he saw that these are people who can help you. So if you fall short, you can go back.
And I like the fact that he make it easy for you.
Yeah.
I mean, don't give me this lot of red tape. Come with a proposal. Let me see your projections. Let me see if this is profitable. This could make money, and let me give you the opportunity.
Yes.
Because it might fail, but at the end of the day, that's what the government is there for. Give people opportunity.
Mm-hmm. But then what is the after stuff, because he said he could go in, and he said Len said to him, if you have a problem, you're a young man, come talk to me. I'll be able to help you. I will be able to guide. He said, Mr. Atherton, I'm glad to tell you that I'm no longer on the peace program. I got my own business. I said, what? He said, yeah, man. That's what I wanted. I wanted that opportunity, man, and I get the opportunity. Me ain't gonna stand them thing, because people look at you when you're on the peace program that you're a criminal. I don't want them kind of stigma.
You got a stigma.
I was so proud of this young man. I said, listen, that is a start. He said, this is a start? Girl, I don't finish. I don't get a start till I finish. I got my own business. I do my own stuff. He said, a lot of young men out there could do the same thing. But you know what? You all want other programs where you're going to try to reset these young men's mind. He said, you see, I didn't get in there. People caught me early. So I was basically brought, and I was given the opportunity. So I didn't really get so tied up,
Okay.
And so I got away. That was a way for me to get out. And if they help one man, they would have done well. And this is one of the things people do not understand the peace program. It's stigmatized.
Yes.
It's people think that it's only
feel
bad
like
people.
It's only bad people for there. I mean, sometimes you have persons there now saying, well, it doesn't serve a purpose for them, and they're ready to get
move on. And
they're ready to move on and find something more, so tangible, something more that would elevate them. I mean. And it's only fear that we give them the opportunity.
And that's what I am
the
so
only fear that we
grateful.
Start to find ways to integrate them back into society.
I am so grateful, and I was so grateful that Unity was placed into office under the leadership of the Honorable Timothy Harris, who has, and people could say what they want. He interacts with the young people.
Yes.
He walks around with them. He visits them. He understands what their problems are, and he finds the solution.
I mean, that's why they always say that, he always got some criminal around him. But, I mean, hey, they are human beings.
Yes.
They are people. And how you expect them to change if somebody ain't mentoring them?
If criminals hangs around with criminals, they're going to remain criminals.
Yes.
You need people because we are all criminals. We are all capable of doing. We are all capable of doing wrong things. things.
Yes.
Some of us get caught, and some of us are allowed to walk around still being bigger criminals.
Yes.
And so if you get somebody who's going to help you, I mean, when this guy told me, Sandra, I was so shocked. Somebody tell me to call the PM, right? And they gave me his number. I said, they gave you his number. He said, yeah. He said, you want it? Because I'm like...
Well, my surprise will be when people come back and tell me, Weeks, he answer me, yo.
No, but no, he called me back.
Yeah.
He said, look, I Sandra, what here? I'll show you. He showed me the phone. He said, look what? I said, that's his number? He said, yeah, write it down. You could call him. You could call him. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm putting it in my phone.
Yeah.
And then he said, but you know what was the good thing about it? Is that, Mama, when I call him and the man ain't answer his phone, I don't go and abuse my friend. I said, man, what kind of bogus number did you give me? Can the man answer his phone? He said, I lie down in my bed and my phone ring and I see the number come up with this. I said, my mother's the prime minister called me. He said he was so shocked, right? He didn't even know what to say. He got tongue-tied. And he asked him, boy, boss, I could come and see you because right now I'm so surprised that you calling back. I don't even know what to say to you. You could tell me where I could come and see you. He said, and he made an appointment and he went up and he saw the prime minister.
Yeah.
And this is what we were missing.
Yeah.
When you can meet the prime minister, or the prime minister is going to call you back. Because, I mean, he realized that everybody is somebody.
He's somebody. And he ain't too big to interact with anybody.
And that is the difference. That was one of the difference. And people would call down Dr. Harris, and people would say things. They have their experiences, and they can say it.
Yes.
But I can't say like you,
Right.
because I don't know how you would have experienced
Exactly.
it. And we can't judge people who are going to say other things because that is their experience. But when I speak to the ordinary man, and they would tell me, how happy they were when they could have spoken to the prime minister, or he walks around the street and you could just go and he would, boss, I could get a word with you, and he pull aside and you would have the conversation and things happen. That is one of the reasons why I tell people you would have tried PAM, you would have tried NRP, you would have tried CCM, you would have tried Labour, you've never tried PLP. And I'm not here campaigning for PLP. I just find before we can make judgment calls, you have to give a person a chance.
A chance, yes.
You can't say that this person is such and such because you have never experienced what they would have done.
Yes.
I can say why I wouldn't vote for PAM. I can say why I wouldn't vote for Labour. I can say why I wouldn't vote for CCM. And I can say why I wouldn't vote for NRP. I cannot say why I wouldn't vote for PLP because PLP has never been given a chance. So, and just like everything else, you would have given Labour a chance and they would have failed you. You got rid of them. You would have given PAM a chance. They would have failed you. You got rid of them. The same thing with NRP and CCM. And then you had unity where all three was tied up and they would have failed you. And then you would just have to realize that, let me tell you something, I am not going to do that coalition thing. It doesn't work. I am going to try something new, and if it works or if it doesn't work, I have the chance 5 years later to get rid of them.
Get rid of them. And that's what you're all about, giving somebody else a chance. You're not trying something different because at the end of the day, nothing beat a failure but a try.
Yeah.
And it's better when you try than to say, oh, I should have or could have, or would have. So just give a chance and see where it leads you. As you say, hey, you're lending them your vote for a 5-year period. If you feel like the 5-year period come and they haven't proven themselves to you, you got all right to say, well, hey, you know what, I try you, it didn't work out in what I wanted, so I'm going to move on or going back or something. But you can't do it unless, or you can't say it unless you give persons a chance, and a fair chance at that.
We can talk about leadership. We would have seen Dr. Harris in leadership capacity. We have understood, we talk about the programs that were introduced and why. We saw that the young people were now taken into consideration, recognizing that there must be. We were asking how for the longest while, how can we control crime? People think that these people are just being paid. But now that these people are busy, they have things to do, they can't be caught up. A lot of people were doing these criminal activities because they didn't have anything to do. They were broke, they were hungry. Now, and they had to live. It was survival. Now you would have provided program, not just the peace program where you get money from it, but you people now have an opportunity to elevate themselves.
But some of them even, start up business and right now in the process are looking at step worker to start to help with the landscaping, to help with the car wash, to help with the rental, scooter rental, car vehicle rental. Some of them actually renting construction tools, mixers and them going equipment.
I've seen that, and I'm shocked.
What you want better than that? I mean, that's something that should have been offered a long time ago. I can remember a couple of years ago when I went to a town hall meeting for Labour, and I think that is where I started to get more and more involved, because I from the village, everybody know. I got shot once, twice, about 3 times on 3
I didn't
different
know that.
occasions. Yeah,
I didn't know
2008, 2010,
Why are you criminal and I
2012.
associated with you?
Well, I mean, when my
Yeah,
businesses,
yeah.
the fellas,
Hang there,
hang
yeah.
there. I know them growing up, so me gonna be like, hey, me want you buy me place because they say you this and they say you that. No, I mean, I know you a long time. I love you. I appreciate you. You support my business, and we hang together. And I could remember asking the former Prime Minister Douglas a question. What about the crime situation? And the answer basically was, he gonna take care of himself.
Wow.
So it was no kind of, empathy, no kind of, hey, we gonna try this or we gonna try that. He was just like, he gonna take care of himself. So then, I had to watch, about 20 to 30 something persons who I know, who I grew up around, die.
Wow.
And all I could get from a leader was, he gonna take care of himself.
And these are things you don't want to go back to, though.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't understand why people would even think twice. We have experienced certain things that we don't want to experience again.
Yes.
So we have experienced certain leadership that we don't want to experience.
Yeah, and they failed us. Big
They
time.
failed us. But
Big
I
time.
mean, I find it's unfair to say, because Jew is supposed to be the leader of Labour, and we have never given him a chance. But why would you change something that is working? I'm sorry, Jew, but I think you should just enjoy, because he is creating a country that sooner or later that you would inherit,
Yes.
and things will be easier for you. So just give it some time.
Yes.
And this is one of the things that is, because we know, we have seen things. We have been the criminals country in the world where all activities, crime was rampant every minute. And I remember crying one time on a Voices program, and I said, we are looking at this thing as the norm. It has become the norm. That was frightening.
I could tell you, one time I injured, right, and I got by my shop just to check on things and then kind of things, and I had to end up run with an injured leg.
Wow.
Move on with an injured leg. People don't even understand how serious it was. You had to be a part of it. You had to be in it to understand it. And you had times when, you're sitting down and you're watching left, right, center, all the time. You just can't be at ease, no time at all. No, you could do that with ease.
I remember driving, going to pick up something, and I pull up all my windows, and I turn on the radio. I don't want to hear, because I'm looking around just to see. And this is no joke. And I'm zooming at home and zoom, and I'm very oblivious to what's around me. You zoom in the gate. You're so afraid to go into close the gate now, because you have to come out.
You don't know.
Yeah, and
You don't
that
know.
was
Uncertainty.
fear. It was fear that was created. You don't want to go anywhere. My children were always underneath me. I wouldn't allow them to go anywhere. I was so sad, because
And we can't go back to that.
we can't go back to that. We cannot. My daughter, when she asked me, can I go? No. Why? Because you were afraid.
Yeah,
you were afraid that something was going to happen.
Some persons want to say, oh, you're paying these men, but I say straight up, it's a small price to pay. I was a part of it. I was a victim. It's a small price to pay.
But it's
me.
not even pay. It's just like the STEP program.
When I say pay me, I mean like actually monetary, but it's a small sacrifice. Then
Exactly, I know what you mean.
Small sacrifice. Because I don't want people to feel like it's a money thing, but the sacrifice we're making, small compared to what you used to have before.
Yeah, we were living with tourism.
Small business used to struggle. I was in a village community, and let me tell you something. Soon as 8 o'clock, half of the shop shut down.
Yes.
Now we open till 10 and 11 and 12 again.
We are living in, and I don't know, and I'm sorry because we're running out of time, but let me tell you something, is I know I don't want to go back there. When the electorate, we are running behind these politicians, understand that what we get is the crumbs from the table. These programs that has been implemented, we pray, because like I said,
that they continue.
So and we are not hearing anybody talking about them. We're hearing people talking about fair share. We're hearing people talking about monies that were owing to them because they were lawyers and they work and they didn't get the money. So the question you ask, so when you go and you're going to pay yourself?
Yeah, you hear people talk about the programs, but what they talk about them is in a negative way.
Yeah, and how are you going to sustain them? They're not
in a negative way.
Yeah, so
they're steady and they decide what we're going to do with a program like the Peace, but now they're saying, why the money gone here? Why the money got to go in this person's hand? Why the money got to go there? But you steady and make the decision. So what you come telling people now?
I don't want that. I don't want to go back to a country like that, honestly, because it used to see all young men walking up, taking up to the cemetery. Mothers are crying, wondering why all this senseless killing. Now we don't have that, and I don't think I want to go back there. Weeks, it was a pleasure. The time has run so quickly. I just look up again and I see that it is 11 o'clock. I would have come to the end of my program.
Yeah.
I do hope that those of you who would have listened would have learned something. And let me tell you something, politicians would be politicians. And at the end of the day, we have to start to analyze them for ourselves. They're going to tell you the best things. Could you imagine now they're coming back to tell you after 2 years, 7 years, you've been in there, you didn't do anything for us, the poor people, your ATM was out of order.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things, those are these messages that you
people
put
have
up.
to live with.
Yeah, those are the messages that
Yeah.
you sent out.
Don't
And
disturb me.
yeah, those were the issues, and now you're going to go back and you're going to tell people, give me a second chance.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not going to happen. I listen to people in government, ministers, who insult people when you call in just to ask. You have a show, and I call into your show, and I want to ask you a question. And you insult people, telling them they're clowns, and Abernathy
Yeah.
gonna have Culturama, and sooner or later, I mean, you're better suited there. How can you say these things
Yeah.
to people you intend or who have families and you want them to vote for you?
That just
And
show you
these,
what
we
you think of
need
people.
humble people at the helm. We don't want arrogant people who can boast of their socks and their suede shoes and their expensive watches. We don't want that. We,
Yeah.
people who are going to push lobster dinners in your face, people who are going to tell you how rich they are, they don't have to depend on government money. We don't want those people. We want people who understand hardships and what poor people are going through. If you don't know about hardship, you can't help me.
can't
If
help
you're
me.
rich to that point, what are you going to do for me? You don't understand what it is to be poor, so therefore you can't help me. So though I'm saying to you guys that you have to learn to analyze for yourself. The information is out there. Use it to the best of your advantage. Make sure that the choice that you make is a calculated choice, one that you understand. And my mother always used to tell me, don't, if it's not broken, why fix it? My name is Sandra Quilliat. It was a pleasure being here, but I'm going to remind you that COVID cases are rising.
Oh, yes.
We are not wearing our mask. We are not hand sanitizing. I like the hand sanitizing. And we are not social distancing. Everybody's looking forward to CPL and Music Fest and Mango Fest in Nevis and Breaking Dawn and Tropics. All of those are the festivals that we are looking forward to, but we are not realizing that we have issues right now, and so we have to take the necessary precautions and make sure that we don't create environments or situations where we have to overwork the NEOC and that they would get any more honorarium according to you, because you'll have issues with honorarium. So we have to make sure that we do what we're supposed to do. It is a beautiful Friday. The sun is out in all its glory, and I suppose everybody looking forward to the weekend. Just be sensible and make sure the life that you save can very well be your own. My name is Sandra Quilly Atherton, and I'll look forward to see you again. Weeks, it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And I look forward to having you again next Friday, where we would educate and inform the general public and see if they can make a decision that is information filled. Enjoy the rest of this. Stay tuned to WinFM 98.9. Voices is up next.
Views of WinFM 98.9. WinFM reserves the right program where solely those of the caller and do not reflect the views of WinFM 98.9. WinFM reserves the right to disconnect any caller who infringes the law or offends the right of any person. The station will also refuse to take any call from any person who, in WinFM's considered opinion, is likely to expose the station to liability for statements made on the air.